I just want to make sure we have all our options open. So I did appreciate that point, and there was going to be some action on that.
Okay, I will call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to our Planning Commission meeting tonight.
Hi, Martha. Hi. I sent you the link, if you saw it, for the application. Yeah, thank you.
And the first thing we will do is we will stand for the pledge, please. Jean, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Hasn't done this for years. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, are there any board announcements? Department head announcements? Department announcements? Jim, why don't, would you like to get up and introduce yourself?
Would you like me to?
Why don't you,
Yes.
Yeah, come over here and.
Thank you. This is the first time I've attended one of these meetings, so I should introduce myself. I'm James Walgren. I'm the interim Resource Management Agency director. I'm here with my partner, Larry Perlin. Larry has a civil engineering background, and he's going to be focusing more on the engineering, maintenance, and capital projects side of things, but we work very closely on all department issues. My focus is going to be on the planning and development review and building inspection services that we provide here. My background is in city planning. So Larry and I have just been on board here for a little less than 2 weeks now, and so we're still getting up to speed on what the issues are. There's internal system issues that we're addressing, but there's also project issues that are out there that we're going to be focusing on. And as we get things kind of moving along, then we'll be able to look at sort of the higher level issues as well. So thank you for this opportunity, and we're both really pleased to be here.
Well, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we're at the public comment section of our agenda. So anyone in the audience that would like to address the Planning Commission items that are not on the agenda, if you'd step forward to the podium now. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar, which includes the acknowledgement of the public hearing, the certificate of posting, and there are no action minutes. So if there's a questions on the consent calendar or minutes, motion.
Let Mark sit down for a second.
Yeah, let Mark catch up.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so where are we?
I'm just waiting for a motion on the consent calendar.
I'll move to adopt the consent calendar
Second.
as submitted.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Chase, I'm sorry, do you have the roll call noted?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Then I'm going to take the agenda and move it around just a little bit, and we're going to move on to item number 3 about South Side First. And Gary, did you want to give us a presentation on that?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Just very quickly, yesterday we received word on that geotech study that we were awaiting the last time, delineating the location of or lack of the fault line area, as well as we received the utility, the sewer and water service section that we're awaiting as well. So we are now in a position to start preparing the draft of the MOU itself. And I believe your staff has also recommended a continuance to be noticed later date, which we're in conformance with. We'll follow their lead on that. But now we're kind of all ships forward in the process on our side.
Okay.
So thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Are there any questions?
I have a question, just following up last time, and that is, was there any finding as to an earthquake problem? Oops, sorry about that. That's on? Okay. Was there any finding as to earthquake issues out there?
The finding on the Fay property that went through right there where Enterprise and Southside Road found that there was not evidence of an active fault or historic fault in that area.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Now, staff, did you have anything else to add on this general plan?
Not right now, just that we would recommend, as opposed to what's in the packet that said continue to the next meeting, instead of that, we would recommend continuing to a date uncertain.
Okay.
And we can give this public notice again at a later time.
Is Ray Pierce going to have it at
What's
every
it?
meeting? Or every,
Yes.
We have so much going on right now. We do a date uncertain and bring it back in 4 to 8 weeks or something.
No questions from staff? Okay. All right. Can I have a motion then to continue this item?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
we have one speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a speaker.
Jack Murphy.
should any directives have it at every meeting?
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, I'm Jack Murphy. Given what Gary Coates has just indicated, that this process is really in its recommencement, these remarks may be a bit premature, but in reading the write-up, there's a singular set of words that causes me some concern and gains my attention. I live at Ridgemark and part of the Ridgemark Homes Association, and the wording is good access to existing transportation corridors. And having attended a number of these meetings, and in particular listening to applicants that previously had looked to develop along Southside Road, and recognizing that there will very probably be concerns about the access outward from Southside Road for those developers, our concern lies in the fact that there has been indications that some developers believe that they have open access through Ridgemark. And the point is that they don't necessarily have that access specifically where it comes into the Ridgemark Homes Association, given the fact that we own those roads. We have communicated in writing to supervisors and I believe county commission members, but we just want to continue to have that level of consciousness present as we go forward. And again, I recognize these may be very premature comments given the fact we're just starting this, but wanted to continue that level of awareness. Thank you.
Okay. Then can I have a motion to continue this to date uncertain?
So moved.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Okay, been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, let's go back then to item number 1 under public hearings, a reclamation plan for the Enns Quarry, amendment to the use permit 85802-A. I'm sorry to announce that we learned late this afternoon that there were some noticing issues and that one of the parties that lives next to the quarry or close to the quarry did not get a notice and did not know about this item. So at this time, I feel in fairness to everyone that we really need to continue it to our May meeting, but I'm open, the Planning Commission can certainly discuss it, and if someone feels differently,
Because I'm new at this, could I have some information as to what kind of notice is required, how far out? I did go visit the quarry at the request of the applicant, and so I have some sense of geography there, but that's about it. So every kinds of issues sometimes have different notice requirements. Is there a distance away? How does that work here? If staff can answer, or if one of you do? Okay.
Who from staff?
Is there like a consultant who can answer that? I know that a public hearing is required, but I haven't had a chance to research whether mail notice is required.
Thank you. We will outline the noticing requirements for this project in the next staff report that you receive, as well as other projects. But typically, it's a newspaper publication, a direct mail notice within 300 feet or perhaps more, depending on the project, and then a property posting. But we can confirm that.
Okay.
So, and the noticing was done, but apparently one property did not receive a direct notice.
And if you know that it was done, was the 30 feet parameter used, or was there something else in this case?
I think it was 300 feet, but we'll confirm that.
All right, thank you.
The notification is listed by all the people that are required to be notified. My question is, so this person became aware of it, but your record shows that they were not notified. But they were the only one that weren't notified that was in the area?
It was shared with the staff this afternoon that adjacent property owner was not noticed. And we could not confirm that person was or was not noticed. So it appears that person did not receive a direct mail notice.
But they were on the mailing list.
Well, we couldn't find them on the mailing list this afternoon. So we're not certain that we can't be certain that they did receive a mailed notice. But we do know that the other notice measures were done.
Well, how many others could be missed then? If you didn't know about it until they brought it to your attention.
These notices went out before I came on board here, so I'm not sure how the list was generated. But it was published in the paper, the property was posted, and mailed notices did go out, but apparently one property was somehow missed, and I'm not sure how yet.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Are you moving that we just put this over, or because I had some other concerns that I thought maybe I should address so we're all ready next time around. This is a big project. I am glad to know that we have opportunity actually to follow up on some things that were puzzling me, because I understand that this was heard both here, I think, and with the supervisors in 2010, correct? Under the current thing was heard, that was permitted then. And what I didn't see in the packet, although it was a huge packet, and maybe I missed it, was a summary of the findings and the requirements, if any, that were issued as a result of that 2010 permissive use. So if there are some documents that would be relevant to us knowing what kind of compliance has occurred during the interim 7 years, that would be useful for the next hearing. I'm sure the applicant would like to have them too, so they could address any of those concerns. Is there anything else that anybody, those of you who have been here longer than I, are familiar with that you think you would be helpful for us to have at the next meeting?
Not that I can think of now. But we're not going to address it all tonight because there's no point in even starting.
No, but
No, I just want to compile the list so we have everything we need.
Not that I don't think there's any other issues that I can see.
Okay.
They may come up when we do the report and
sure.
have the discussion, but that'll happen when it happens.
Okay, is there any other comments from the Planning Commission? What I intend on doing then is opening up the public hearing. If someone would like to address us tonight, there certainly can, but this public hearing will be continued, and you will be allowed to address us at the next meeting when we have a full panel here. We are missing one person tonight. So if someone would like to address us tonight, please fill out a speaker card, and we will allow you to address us. But there will be no decision made tonight. We are going to continue the public hearing because of the noticing request. Okay? All right, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board?
Where's these cards I can fill out?
They're on the back table. If you'll take it to the clerk, please.
Hello, Commission. I'm Jim Ryan. I live adjacent to the Enz's Quarry. And I'd like to be notified. My address is 1426 Limekiln Road. So I don't get the newspaper. I haven't heard anything on TV, and I wasn't mailed any document, or I have no idea what they're up to.
Okay.
All right.
We will
Appreciate the
notice you
notice.
for the next meeting, Mr. Bryan.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to address the Planning Commission? Okay. Then if I could have a motion to continue the public hearing to our next meeting?
I so move to
May
continue the public hearing.
To May 17th, I believe, at 6 p.m.?
Fine.
Is that correct?
May 17th at 6
Okay,
p.m.
at May 17th at 6:30.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Continued to May 17th. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to use permit 1166-17. Michael?
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Michael Kelly, Associate Planner, here to talk about use permit 1166-17, wireless facility. There we are. Wireless facility at Fairview Road and Los Fibras Road at the northern corner. It's my picture. Here is the location, Los Fibras Road and Fairview Road, and just another view of the location at the corner there. This is the site, and at this location there would be, as proposed, a 90-foot false pine tree with 12 panel antennas and associated equipment. It would be for an AT&T facility, but the expectation is for these towers that co-location would be allowed if needed. The facility would be right here. Here's Fairview Road, here's Los Fibras Road, and there would be an easement running along here to the facility. These circles that you see here show that it's at least 500 feet away from residences, as is the rule written into the wireless facilities ordinance. It's a closer view. Here's Los Fibras Road and the easement running up to the site. And more detail of this site, and if you like, we can look back at these details, or the applicant can refer to these graphics if needed. Just looking closely at the lease area, it would be a fenced-in area with the false tree over here, and other equipment relating to that. There would be 6 antennas on one level and 6 antennas on another level. And these images are in the staff report, so you might have already seen them. But this is a drawing of the tree, the pine, false pine tree. Here are simulations of how the tree would look in the landscape. This is as viewed from the northeast from Los Fibras Road. And this is as viewed from the east from Los Fibras Road. And this is from the corner of Los Fibras Road and Fairview. And this is from kind of the southwest from Fairview, just northwest of Los Fibras Road. And again, we can look back at these if you like, but they were in the staff report. The general plan has policies that, as it says in the general plan, support the development and expansion of telecommunication facilities and services to facilitate the use of the best available technology for businesses, households, and government. And there's another policy about integrating the into existing adjacent conditions and minimizing visibility. And the wireless facilities ordinance also makes reference to that to minimize visual impacts. And this is what's proposed, and there are conditions of approval here, including having colors that match the area, the trees, the earth. And basically, in short, staff would recommend approval of this project. And I can take questions, and the applicant can also perhaps take questions too.
Are there any questions from?
I have a question.
You need a public hearing, or?
Well, I was going to take questions first and then open it up.
Right. I just want to know what's the species of a monopine?
It's a new species.
What does that mean?
It's like a monopole, except it's a false pine tree, so it's called a monopine.
I didn't know if that was a variety of pine trees. I never heard of it.
Yeah. Looking at those photographs, it looks to be in an orchard of some sort.
Yes.
Are the applicants the owners of those trees in that orchard?
No, this is a lease. This is a lease area, and the owner.
Was the owner of the property noticed, I presume?
Oh yeah. The owner of the property is signed the application, and this necessarily involves the approval of the owner.
And what duration do these things have in an approval? I mean, is it for so many years, or just as long as it works, or what's the conditioning?
The wireless facilities ordinance says renewal every 5 years, but the there's a federal law that takes precedence over our local law, and I think it's 10 years, is it?
If that was a key issue, I could bring it back, but I would have the Planning Commission take the point of view that this is like an approval, a permanent approval for this. After you approve it, then the federal law does allow them to do some co-location of items that do not materially change the scope of the antenna over a certain size. So this is a lease, and I mean it is an approval, and it does not go away that I know of in a specific period of time. And I have not researched that in depth, and I could bring that back to you if you would like a specific answer on that.
What's a co-location? What does that mean?
If they want to add another
tier to the
additional. More, I don't know what you call them.
antennas for another carrier.
Another tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might invite
so
you
Verizon
to repeat.
wanted to get on, and that would be reasonably possible. Okay.
And I might invite repeating that point at the microphone for the recording when you feel like it.
I know that there's certain things that they can add and that is another issue that we've been pending for a long time, is we have to go back and change our code to not bring every sort of issue to the Planning Commission if it's minor modifications of the an existing tower, that when the county has a very limited parameters when it can reject those applications, then in some ways when we come to the Planning Commission, it's a step that may not necessarily need to be taken. So at some point we need to amend our ordinance to reflect the law that went into place a few years ago. And we had samples at one point that we were looking at from other counties that we could use for that purpose.
Michael, may I ask another question? Yes. Was there any objection by anyone submitted to the department?
I didn't receive any objection from anybody. No written comments, no phone calls.
And the notice on this was in newspapers as well as
it was in the
certain
newspaper,
addresses?
and it was by mail to neighbors also.
Okay. I know these once were controversial. They seem to be everywhere now, so I'm assuming that's not such a big deal, but just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't recall, and I didn't hear it now. What's the distance of the notification by mail to the local neighbor? In other words, you're required to notify by mail within how far?
300 feet is the public noticing requirement, and jurisdictions can choose to have further radiuses, but 300 feet.
200 feet, but that's not. There's not too many neighbors on some of these parcels.
Right.
There's no neighbor within 200 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, 300 feet.
Okay.
And from the property boundaries, not from the lease area site where the facility would be, but from the
Oh, I see.
edge of the property.
But so if you had a big property, even though the pole was on the other end of the property, you'd have to notify within 200 feet of the border of these properties?
Generally, yes. 300 feet all around the perimeter of the real estate where this would be located.
Okay. Is there any other
I have
question?
a question. Michael, did we talk about this over a year ago about removing the 500 feet from a residence because it really wasn't applicable
It
and there was no bearing of whatsoever?
We have talked about this issue before, and it could be part of a new future ordinance like what Barbara was describing. But for now, the ordinance does talk about keeping a distance of 500 feet from residential areas, which, as previous permits might suggest, is not the most, not the clearest of definitions, but that is what it says.
Okay.
That's what I remember. We were going to get a new ordinance.
Get a new ordinance and remove that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I will open up the public hearing then. If anyone wishes to address the Planning Commission, please come forward, state your name.
Good evening. My name is Lori Jackson. I'm with Complete Wireless Consulting, and I'm representing AT&T today. And I also have Leon Boichman with me, and he's a representative of AT&T. And I just wanted to reiterate what Michael had stated about the project. It is a 90-foot monopine, and you're right, that is a new species. And this is the design that the applicant's property owner actually requested. And this project is a little bit unique in that it will also be offering wireless broadband service in addition to cellular service. So that's a little bit unique to some of the projects that you've been seeing before you that just offer cellular service. But I did want to offer up my opportunity to answer any questions that you might have about the project.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the Commission?
Broadband service, what's the area of coverage?
If you look on the coverage maps that are in your staff report, there's a polygon that shows an area of census map, or a census block rather, that the FCC has identified that does not have broadband coverage. So AT&T has been working with the FCC to provide broadband service in areas of California that do not have broadband service, and they're typically rural areas like the location of this site.
How big of an area does it service? What's the distance?
I believe this site will cover, actually, I can tell you if you give me just a moment. Do you have the coverage maps? Were they in this?
I should mention the coverage maps themselves are not in the staff report, but there's a mention in the staff report of the
If not,
fact that...
I have them if you don't have them.
Yeah, I have the CD here, actually. We could... Let me see. Oh, I think they are.
Sorry about that.
This is essentially internet service?
It's offering internet. AT&T will be offering internet service in addition to
Cell service.
cell service, and it will be offering that to 307 households. So it's a census block. I know. We can pass this around so you can see.
Okay. But that has nothing to do with distance? I mean, how are those 307 houses defined?
By the
How'd they select
FCC, by the Federal Communications Commission. And that also shows the coverage that will be offered by this facility. The dark green is the indoor coverage. The yellow is outdoor coverage.
May I ask a question while you're studying that? I just wanted to know how long this technology's been around that you can offer broadband by putting a tower up. I didn't realize that was possible.
The way this works is you have the tower, and there's different antennas that will be on the tower that offer a different frequency than the cellular coverage. Right. And then the individual household will receive, once they eventually sign up and the service gets rolled out, they'll receive a transmitter in there that they will be placed in their yard. Mm-hmm. It's about the size of a small pizza box on a stake. And then they'll receive a wireless router in their home.
Yeah. That's a really good new service. I'm a rural person, so I'm very interested in this because we are in that same boat. There's nothing out there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it's a good thing. Generally speaking, I don't know how it would be if it, from experience certainly, but it seems like it's a good, needed technology.
And these are the first of the projects in the state to be approved.
Huh. Okay.
Or hopefully approved tonight.
So with this tower, is going to give you better internet?
Eventually. So essentially you get 2 for 1. You get broadband service and cellular service in an area that has a significant coverage gap for both indoor and in-car, outdoor cellular service for AT&T customers.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Mark, did you have any more?
It just kind of puzzles me how the FCC or whoever selected those 300 houses. Why?
They determined that census block and similar census blocks throughout the country are underserved. So my understanding is that Comcast or other internet carriers, they only bring their service to a certain point where it's economically feasible for them. So if you live in town, you may have 2 or 3 options for internet service, but if you live in a rural area, you may have no options for internet service, or you may have one option that's extremely expensive, or in some instances, some people are still on dial-up, which is unheard of or hard to think about at this day
hard
and
to
age.
live with.
And how they make the selection.
My friend from AT&T might be able to explain this.
And just to be clear, they didn't specifically select that particular census block. What the federal government did quite a few years ago, they recognized that the deployment of broadband to rural communities was going very, very slow. And so what they've tried to do to speed that up is create incentives for companies like AT&T and Verizon to serve these particular areas. And they've identified what these areas look like as far as the kind of service that they have available. It just so happens that this particular census block falls within the description of the kind of customers that they would like for us to receive, to serve. So, like I said, this is throughout the whole country, and basically it's determined on what services are available, particularly the rural areas that they've been focusing on, and we've been focusing on. want to. Does that help?
But Verizon doesn't provide internet service, right? Per se. I mean, that's just the cell service. That's part of it.
Verizon, you mean, is this a Verizon territory that we're in right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do, though.
I actually work more in Santa Clara County, and I know we have a couple of places there where Verizon is the local provider. And so for a lot of areas like this and throughout the country, companies like Verizon have not found it economically feasible to run a wire all the way out to your house to enable you to get broadband service. And so it appears that the strategy of the day, who knows where technology is going, but as of right now, the strategy is let's provide these folks with a wireless-based internet service instead of running the wire out there. So you'll probably be seeing other carriers coming here wanting to provide service to those customers who don't have internet access right now.
So this might be the first of many of these type of projects you'll see over the next couple of years.
I'm sure it won't be the last.
Well, I mean, they got lots of cell sites in the county, various companies, huh? I mean,
Yeah, and-
cell, but not for the
Right,
internet.
right. This is a new type of project that.
Right. And keeping in mind that the way the technology is evolving, as of now, most people don't have a line in their homes. They use their wireless phone for their primary communications. And so it becomes even more critical when you start talking about things like 911 to make sure that the cell service is the kind of service that's going to be reliable anywhere you go. So that's why you'll be seeing more projects, particularly in San Benito County, where we'll be trying to improve the coverage.
But the internet piece is going to be wireless.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Now, is it available on AT&T lines now?
No, this
It
is.
depends. It depends. If you happen to live in an area, and I don't know this for a fact, but let's say if you happen to live in downtown Hollister, you may have access to internet service using AT&T. But if you're living up in the hills or someplace else, you probably will not have access just because it is so expensive to serve so few customers with that kind of a service.
Even with a wire?
Even with a wire.
Right.
The wire is very expensive because remember, you either got to string it on a pole or you have to dig it.
No, but
dig a trench in the
if you
ground.
have AT&T line service,
Right.
you can get the internet?
No.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Because you have to have certain equipment on that line in order to be able to make the internet service work. The plain old telephone line that you've had for the last 50 years or so, that is not going to work. The network has to be upgraded in order for you to get the kind of signal through that wire for you to get internet service.
They could change the equipment, but they don't have to change the new wire.
If changing the equipment could be a relatively expensive thing if you're only serving, let's say, a couple of customers on that particular line. So that's where it becomes a matter of economics.
But so this technology has been determined to be feasible to serve a small number of people at a time.
The service, even though it's coming off the monopine, they still pay
Yes,
for the internet piece.
they will,
If you sign up for it, right?
if they sign up for it.
Okay.
And we hope you do.
You get the money one way or the other is the bottom line.
Only if you really want to serve.
Well, of course.
Okay, are there any more
I'm
questions?
fine. Yeah. Yes.
Do you want a motion?
Yes. Is there any?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's anybody else from the public here. but- Okay, I will close the public hearing and bring it back for a motion.
Motion to approve as outlined here today, this project.
Okay, with the findings and,
Yes,
Addition.
as submitted with the findings that have been shared with us.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now let's move on to discussion items. I have met with the chair of the City of Hollister Planning Commission and the chair of the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission. And we would like to hold a joint meeting on May 23rd. And I'm tasked with bringing that back to our commission and see if that date works.
What's it about?
It's a Tuesday.
But what's the purpose of this?
I'll go into that. I'm just trying to check out the date at this time.
I have a hard time committing to dates without having my cell phone on and looking at my calendar because I travel a lot, but so I don't know. That's Wednesday, is
It's
it?
a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
May 23rd.
And our meeting's going to be the week before that, huh?
Right.
Yeah, 5/17.
Make sure I'm not going to be here.
I tentatively, say
Okay.
yeah, I just don't know.
If we can't all be there, it's discussion, so.
Right.
The 23rd?
It'll work,
Okay.
Yeah.
like it.
And I did talk with Ray. It'll work for Ray, so. Okay, and then basically what we talked about discussing, and then this is open for the Planning Commission. If they have other items, we can add it to the agenda. But what the chair of the City of Hollister Planning Commission really wanted to go into that night was to look at like our zoning maps, look at maps for both of the city's sphere of influence and how it overlays with the county's maps, and then projects that are both approved and pending, so we have an idea of really what's out there. And then we wanted to have a discussion about affordable housing, and if there's any way we can dovetail affordable housing for the city and the county and get the best response possible. So I don't know if there's anything else the Planning Commission would like to discuss. What we envision happening is that this will be every 4 months. We'll have one of these meetings, and each jurisdiction will host it one time.
Okay. Didn't we put something else tentatively on May that was going to be a study group? And that was for the Scenic Highway business?
The Scenic Highway.
So I don't know how, that would be on the week before.
That would be on our
regular
that would be our calendar, yes. But now we've got this ends too, so we'll have to.
Yeah, I guess my concern, and I'd like to involve staff with thinking about this, is that we are in a transitional staff mode here, and I don't want to burden them too much with prep for 2 meetings a week apart. So, if it's manageable, I'm all for it. I just want to make sure we can do it.
Right, because basically our staff, I think what we're asking them is just to provide a couple maps. The City
Okay.
of Hollister is really hosting it.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll expect some staff there. Well, the staff will be responsible to put the notice in the paper for us. The meeting will be at the 23rd, 6 o'clock, at the Veterans Memorial Building.
In Hollister.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
We really don't need any information when we go there.
No,
It'll be all provided.
right.
Okay.
Just our input.
We'll just have to have some kind of agenda because we'll have to open up the meeting
And the focus is on affordable housing. So, in terms of just making the time more useful without all of us asking a lot of questions, at least I would be because I haven't been around long, I wondered if the city might want to share its affordable housing. We have a housing element on our general plan. Maybe they have one too. Maybe San Juan does. It'd just be nice to have an opportunity, maybe on request, so they don't have to go around making zillions of copies. But if we on this board would like to see that stuff, I would.
Are you talking about their actual ordinances?
Yeah.
Their affordable housing ordinances?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
would know it's existing.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will talk to the chair of the Planning Commission and
Okay.
ask for that. Okay?
Can't you just go online and find that? Should be a website where you can find all that information.
Well, maybe if they just give that, that's
Yeah,
fine. I
I'll
mean, I
find
just
out.
like to
I'll
have
find out.
access to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't need a paper copy.
Okay, is there anything else anyone would like to discuss at this meeting? Okay. All right, I guess unless staff has something else, I guess we're ready to entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second. I've been second today, so that's fine.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
So ordered.
I was expecting to be here long tonight.